You run out of patience or you just stand up for yourself. If you don't want to hang out, don't. Like, stop fucking me around. Just make up your mind. Like, stop being a child. I was just like, I cannot believe this happened.
We thought maybe by now we'd be back to some normal dating in person, but it still feels like risk is all around us. Hi guys, I'm Andrea Gunning, and this is Dating Diaries, Questions and Confessions.
And I'm Ben Fetterman. Hot spots, colleges going virtual, mask fights in Walmart. I couldn't blame anyone right now for just wanting to shut it all down and say, maybe I'll think about love in 2021.
But that's the thing about love. Or maybe it's sex. It's not on COVID's timeline. So we singles are gonna find ways to find each other for better or worse. And we're gonna tell you about it.
Our first single emailed us at datingdiariespod@gmail.com. And we just had to find out a little more.
Hannah lives in the DC area. She works in sales and consulting. She's been spending quarantine with her core group of girlfriends. And with their help, she decided to try dating apps for the first time.
There's been a core group of 8 of us through quarantine that have been hanging out. And partway through, we all just kind of got on the apps because that was really the only way that you could talk to guys. And I'm the type of person where I got to meet you in person to figure out your vibes and to kind of read people. I mean, that's basically what I do for a living, is read people. So I've never gotten on the apps before. Like, literally, quarantine is the first time I've downloaded the apps. And a lot of the times we would just sit around and swipe for each other or look at random profiles and like just laugh about it as girls. Just typical girl shit.
That sounds about right. What else are girlfriends for?
When I was down in North Carolina, I matched with this guy on Bumble. And he looked really cute, like tall, dark, handsome. We start texting. We're literally sending each other screenshots of music. Like, just seemed really cool. And then again, that's kind of how I read people, is like, do I vibe well with you? Like, can we talk about the same stuff? My family is all athletes. Like, my dad played college football. His brother played college football. Like, sports is kind of the way we communicate in my family. And when I started bringing up sports and he wasn't really giving me anything back, that was my first kind of red flag. But I was like, you know what, whatever, this kid's cool. I'm down in North Carolina and he started sending me some pretty aggressive stuff. Me and my friend aren't really big sexters. I don't know, that's just not really my thing. And he started sending me some really crazy stuff. So I handed the phone over to my friend Heather, who is wild. And so she starts sexting him back all this crazy shit. And at first I was like, this guy is gonna think I'm like a freak by the time that I meet him. But I was like, whatever, who cares? And he was like, when are you coming back? And I was like, oh, I drive back on Sunday. He's like, well, I have to see you, so let me know when you get in.
Whatever her friend said, it worked. He was super persistent and handsome. She figured, why not?
And I was like, all right, fuck it, last day of vacation, I'll invite this guy over. So he comes to my apartment. Literally, when I opened the door, I didn't even know it was him. He didn't look anything like his pictures. This dude had hair as long as mine, a full-ass grown beard, crazy, scraggly. He looked almost like a homeless person. I said his name with a question mark, and he was like, yeah, I'm not catfishing you, like I promise. I just haven't gotten a haircut in 6 months and haven't shaved in 3.
She felt totally catfished. It was the guy, but not the guy. But she decided to keep an open mind.
What am I gonna do? Tell him to leave my apartment? Because you don't look like your pictures? That's the most shallow fucking thing. And I was like, all right, I like you enough. Let me give this a shot. So he comes up to my apartment and he pulls a backpack out. He's got a jar of weed, a bowl, and he pulls out this other jar. And he's like, oh, I've already taken half of this. And I was like, what's in there? He's like, oh, it's just shrooms. It's a Sunday night at like 8:30. I'm dead ass tired from being at the beach all weekend, and this motherfucker is tripping balls the first time I meet him. And I was like, oh man, I probably should have drank more before you came over. I'm just not even on your level or the same planet.
Not only does the guy look nothing like his pictures, he practically has a mobile dispensary, and he's already been indulging. Could this date get any worse?
So I'm like, all right, we have this little deck patio right outside my apartment. I'm like, let's just sit out on the patio and I'm just gonna listen to music and get to know this kid. But he was like, all right, well, where's the wine? You should catch up to me. I pour one glass of wine. I'm starting to get sleepy. I pour another glass of wine. Meanwhile, he literally goes through an entire bottle as I drink 2 glasses. Next thing you know, he's literally gone through another bottle. It's been like 2 hours. At this point, he's getting like drunk. And I'm like, well, it's a Sunday night. My alarm's set for 5:30 in the morning. Like, does this kid think he's gonna like sleep in my bed? You gotta be good to drive home. I'm sitting there thinking, how the fuck do I get rid of this kid?
Hannah's trying to come up with an escape plan. Fast. How do you get Spicoli out the door?
He was like, oh, I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm sitting on the patio. A couple minutes go by. I'm like, he's definitely not in the bathroom anymore. This motherfucker is laying in my bed. He's like, oh, I was wondering when you were gonna come inside. And I was giving off vibes the whole time, kind of bro-ish, like, oh, we're just hanging out type of vibes. At no point was I trying to touch him or like flirt with him at all. Like, I was purposely trying to keep it very bro-ish. Like, called him bro dude a couple times. I was like, oh, are you tired? If you want to sleep here, I can sleep on the couch. Like, no worries. You can sleep in my bed. Kind of like, I don't want you to sleep in my bed. You should sleep on the couch. I'm like, all right, let me just hang out with this kid a little bit longer. I'm gonna move this back into the living room. And eventually I'm like, yo, like, I gotta go to bed. I have work tomorrow morning. He's like, all right, cool, let's go to bed. And I was like, no, you're gonna sleep on the couch. Like, I'm gonna go to bed type of deal. He did try and come to my room in the middle of the night. I literally had to say this when he came in. I was like, I don't know how much more clear I can make this, but like, not trying to hook up with you.
My dude just couldn't take a hint.
I wake up in the morning, he is passed out. So I got ready, made coffee, and finally I'm like, hey, you gotta get out of here. And he's like, all right, cool. I go out to the door and he literally tries to make out with me. I'm like, dude, do you just not read social cues? Do you not remember the entire night last night? It was bizarre to me because I was just kind of like, what the fuck just happened? He texted me 2-3 days later. He's like, I haven't stopped thinking about you since Sunday. We really need to do that again. Bro, what world do you live in? Because I don't think it's the same world I live in. And I think back, it was the sexting. That's what fucked me.
Okay, I like this idea of it's not a catfish, but it's like a quarfish. Like, the guy no longer looks like his photos on the apps because he hasn't cut his hair or has shaved since the beginning of quarantine.
I feel like there are things that warrant taking some time to look at your style. New job interview. An in-person date. I think a Zoom date, you could get away with it, but it's not a great first impression. I think you'd at least make an effort to
Not have debris in your beard. If we're being real, it wasn't her behind her phone sexting this guy. It was her friend. Like, did she catfish him with the sext? Because that was someone different operating the ship. I don't know if I would want a friend sexting with a guy I'm talking on my app, because here's why. If it works out and I'm really into this guy, I don't want my friend to like help my dude get a boner.
you don't want your best friend getting credit for his physical and sexual attraction to you.
No, that's weird. So she comes back from vacation with her girlfriends, and then she sets up a date. A Sunday date, that's a move. Not my choice. You're not meeting up with a person on a Sunday when you have to wake up at fucking 5:45 if you're not a little bit excited about somebody. Let's be real. And then all of a sudden, this Wookiee shows up. I mean, we heard a story of someone who got too high to hang. This is literally the antithesis of that story. I respect the shit out of Hannah because she's like, I'm not going to slam the door in his face because that's fucking rude and it's so materialistic and it's just not the way you do things. She's like, I'll hang out with this guy. He comes in and he proceeds to drink like 3 bottles of wine. This is a Sunday night.
Doesn't sound like he's showing up for work tomorrow.
He's living in a different universe.
That may be his response to the pandemic. Like, I need to escape. I'm going to show up to this woman's house high as fuck, and we'll see where the night goes.
She did a lot more than I would have. I would have been like, I was looking forward to being present with you and getting to know you, but if this is the night that you're in for, you know what? Get the fuck out of my house.
If it was communicated that this is what they both wanted to get into, that's cool. Like, to each their own. But the problem is that he saw this night going one way, and she clearly saw it going another. They were just on two very different planes and expectations of what the night was going to look like.
She must have been really nice to this guy because she just seems like a chill person. But for him to try to make out with her on the way out and for him to circle back like a few days later, it's like, hey, I've been thinking of you since Sunday. Like, what a fucking nut.
Maya works for an international development organization. COVID has been a busy time for her work. Plus, her family has been dealing with coronavirus. Some people close to her have been hospitalized. Girlfriend needed a break and was craving some connection. She hadn't spent much time on dating apps, but took the leap and got lucky.
I connected with this man. His name was Nick. We started chatting and the conversation seemed easy. It was flowing. It seemed familiar. We quickly realized that we had a lot in common. And it was awesome to talk to somebody who had the same interests as I did.
They seemed to have a solid connection, so they set up a Zoom date.
It was just chatting away and we talked for hours. I was like a teenage girl sitting in my bedroom, twiddling my legs, laying in my bed, chatting with a boy. That's what it felt like. It was so ridiculous, but it was so nice to get to know someone through this kind of exclusive channel. Like there were no distractions.
She started to get a little pumped. Nick told Maya that he lived only 15 minutes from her, but was currently quarantining with his sister's family a few hours away. And he was really enjoying his time with his niece and nephew.
I would like to ultimately find my partner to raise a family and like do the whole thing. He's very ready to do that and was very vocal about it. One of the things that he said to me was, I just want to thank you for making me laugh so much. It's been really nice talking to you. And he even mentioned how much we've been able to get to know each other. Like Zoom date 2 felt like normal date 7. I was very attracted to him because our connection felt great. And I was excited to meet him in person.
But they were still only dating virtually. And at times, it was challenging.
Once he was like, oh, I think I'm going to be late for a Zoom date. Can we push back 15 minutes? I have to finish my nephew's bath. And I was like, oh my goodness. Yes, of course. You're so cute.
Despite the challenges, Maya was beginning to fall for this guy. And she couldn't wait to meet him in person.
He kept saying how much he missed Brooklyn, how he can't wait to get back. I was like, this is going to be great. When he's back in town, we can hang out, we can get to know each other more. Wonderful. Turns out I put too many eggs in this basket because the basket imploded. He actively started saying that he would come back and then just not, and then just shift back the date without care.
It was awkward because of COVID. Maya didn't want to press Nick to come meet up in person, but they had really exhausted the virtual relationship.
Enter June. Now we're in the 3rd month of talking. We've stopped talking at the rate in which we were talking prior because he could sense that I was annoyed that he wasn't coming back after so long. And so I made it very clear to say, I'm not really interested in this pen pal thing. So whenever you're ready, just let me know.
But then another opportunity for them to meet in person arose.
He had a roommate move out during COVID, so he needed to interview a new roommate. So he was coming back to Brooklyn. But then he said, maybe we can meet, but I wasn't really planning on seeing anyone. I just have to see the roommate and then go back to my sister's because she's feeling really nervous about the pandemic and, you know, kids can get it now. So I don't think that we can meet. The whole time I tried to give this the benefit of the doubt and aim to truly be patient because I self-sabotage sometimes by knocking things out before I can actually see. This man told me he's super complicated and I still was like, oh, that's so endearing. He's self-aware. Like, okay.
I defer to Maya Angelou on this one. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
I was basically pulling teeth and it felt awful, but I still wanted to make it happen.
While this back and forth, push and pull was happening, Maya took part in a tarot card reading class. In case the world wasn't sending her enough signs, the cards pitched in.
The most disastrous cards showed up. Literally the Tower. It's a picture of a tower where people are jumping off and there's fire behind it and like shit's imploding. And the other card next to it was a guy that was face down with 10 swords in his back. I was like, oh my God. Essentially, what the teacher said was like, these are the 2 worst cards ever. Looks like this isn't going to go anywhere because this guy is a selfish bitch and you're going to get tired of his shit and you're going to be like, nope.
But Maya was going to meet Nick. Now it was a mission, and it finally happened. They met for drinks on a hot night.
And he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I am so happy this is finally happening. Does this like seem surreal? He was so thrilled about this meeting that took 7,000 fucking years because he just like couldn't fucking make up his mind. So anyway, I was like, yeah, great. Spicy margarita, like get me a drink, someone. So I hate how awesome our first date was. Like it was actually really great. We were at this place for hours. And then like the dark clouds rolled up. Ominous, should have been a red flag.
Another one? Really?
The one thing that he did acknowledge was like, all right, I have to address the big elephant in the room. I just want you to know that taking so long to meet was completely circumstantial and that it's a result of the craziness that's going on in the world right now and COVID and just like not being able to get back. But like, I'm back now.
Signs, schmines. She met him and it was great. Fresh start.
I'm glad that he had brought it up. And then I was like, okay, cool. We're moving on. Like, great. He walked me home, which was so nice, held hands on the way back, and then messaging me at like 8 a.m. the next day. Essentially, he was like, oh, it was so fun to meet you. Let's hang out as soon as possible. Like, how about Wednesday? And I was like, great. And then Tuesday, I was like, oh, well, it's going to rain tomorrow. So should we do a rain check? I was like, yeah, sure. Let's do Thursday around 3:30. The next day comes along and it's the day of our date. He messages me at 2:59 and says, long story, but I had to come out to Long Island to celebrate my Aunt Anne Marie's surprise barbecue. Can we rain check for Tuesday?
That's when it all came into focus. After all this time, months really, it was time for the Molotov cocktail text. Maya didn't disappoint.
I don't know if you run out of patience or you just stand up for yourself. If you don't want to hang out, don't. Like, stop fucking me around. Just make up your mind. Like, stop being a child. I was just like, I cannot believe this happened. He was like, I'm annoyed because I was looking forward to hanging out with you. And I go, you're annoyed. I've never been more blown off my entire life. And he writes back, I'm sorry you're annoyed, which is code for like, I don't know what the fuck you're mad about, but you're mad about something. I'm not sorry for anything that I did because I did nothing wrong. He goes, I'm sorry you're annoyed and my intentions are good.
Maya was done. Finished. Over it, kaput.
I wasn't sure if you were just flaky, didn't like me, or just a straight up selfish ass person who was disrespectful of people's time and feelings. I wrote back, not convinced this is circumstantial. And that was it. He never wrote back. I was telling you exactly what I felt. And sorry if you felt that was aggressive, but you pissed me off and I have every justification in being mad for blowing me off for 3 fucking months. So if you don't have the balls to respond to my feelings, then what a fucking coward after all this. I obviously dodged a bullet because complicated is an understatement. The really important thing that I realized from this relationship was how communication is top for me. I need somebody that's like caring and reliable and somebody who respects what a relationship means and is able to communicate around that.
It sucks that she spent a lot of time waiting on this guy. Either this guy has extreme COVID anxiety or is just not that into her. Either way, it didn't seem like this was the right path, the right timeline, the right cadence for Maya.
I think what's most difficult about this story is for the first time in a while, Maya found someone who initially seemed like he was looking for the same thing.
Well, they established what they wanted, and they did seem like they were on the same page, and they had things in common. And it's so hard in the beginning of dating because you just want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, especially in COVID. Like, this guy has moved, and is now existing in a family structure and a life routine that's very different than probably what his life looks like in Brooklyn. He probably does like Maya. He probably does like talking to her. It's probably the cherry on top of a shitty quarantine situation. But he's wasting her time. And the only person that can do anything about it is Maya. Like, he's giving her just enough to keep her interested, keep talking to her, have that fix. But it's on Maya to figure out, like, is this what I want? Do I want to just keep talking to somebody? Obviously not. You don't need to go to Miss Cleo to figure out what you know in your gut.
I mean, the tarot cards are a choice.
I am not knocking tarot cards. I'll do tarot card nights with my girlfriends, but it's more of like prompts for meditation than anything else for me.
What's that meditation look like when you see a card that has 7 knives in their back laying on the ground bleeding?
This is just a classic case of everything else externally is telling you this isn't going to work out. And you also know in your gut. He says he's complicated. If someone says that they're complicated or they're a commitment phobe, believe them. That's not self-aware. That's an excuse. That's a label. I think someone who is self-aware is saying, listen, I'm really struggling to deal with my anxiety in this new family dynamic that I'm in, and I'm feeling a lot of responsibility. And I'm not stringing you along, but I'm really trying to juggle both. And I don't want to disappoint you if I can't give the time that you need. That is self-aware. I'm complicated, not self-aware.
At Dating Diaries, we love hearing about creative ways people are dating. Leon is a German transplant living in Austin. He works in event marketing. He wrote to us recently to share that his search for a partner through dating apps wasn't cutting it. So he decided to take matters into his own hands.
I had this silly idea. I talked to my friends about it. They all thought it was funny. And it's one of those things where you think, if I do this, I think this was going to be a story that I can tell for the rest of my life, up until the point until I have grandkids. And they ask me, hey, how was dating back in your days? And then this really, really cheap billboard came up and I thought, all right, let's go ahead and do this. I basically wanted to see how it works. So it was kind of like an experiment. And then at the same time, I thought, who knows, I might actually meet someone.
Leon rented out a billboard to market himself as a suitable dater. There's his photo and his website in big, bold letters. And it gets better. You can win a nice cash prize if you find Leo's next girlfriend. That's right, he's paying a referral fee.
The prize was a tactic to get people to share it, and it's been working like wonders. I think it's the best idea I've had for this, and people have been outraged by it because they think I'm paying for a girlfriend, which I'm not doing. The idea is that this will incentivize people to share it. Also, a lot of people have tagged their friends as a joke, and therefore it is spread very widely. And I'm going to have a lot of applications coming in. I'm going to end up going on virtual dates with a lot of them. And then once I enter into an exclusive committed relationship, after 3 months of that committed relationship, that's when the payment is due. But basically, I will only get into a relationship with someone when I couldn't picture myself wanting to meet or date anyone else. I just want to be with that person. She is so amazing. She's so great. Then it's well worth $5,000 to pay whoever referred them. If it's not worth $5,000 for you, then it's probably not a relationship that you should be in.
But Leon isn't the easiest person to date. If you're interested, here's what you need to know.
I'm basically looking for someone that is very compatible with that lifestyle. I like to travel, so that is a must for me. Someone that is open to the world and travels. Someone that really values health. I love working out. I love eating healthy. I used to date women that just loved food above everything else, which is great. But I would always find myself not enjoying the activities that we were doing because it would mostly revolve around food, which was not what I was really passionate about. Another thing is someone that wants to grow as a person individually, so someone that is on their own path, but also wants to grow as a team. I am not the best fit for most people because I'm a pretty unconventional guy. There's some things about me that won't go well with many people. For example, I don't drink. I'm a complete health nut, so I rarely eat anything that is remotely bad food. I work out a lot and I work a lot and I have big goals. One of the flaws that I have is that I have a hard time slowing down or just relaxing, just having a weekend off and just watching Netflix and just chilling. that makes it really hard for me to find someone that can be happy with someone like me.
So he has a lot of boxes to check, but the billboard has generated a lot of buzz. His perfect girl must be out there.
So far, I've had maybe 35 or 40,000 people visit the website, around 800 applications. Some of the questions I asked, I really tried to get deep into finding out who someone is. For example, I asked questions like, what has been the toughest challenge that you've overcome in your life? And how do you think about it today? And I ask about what things they consume in terms of podcasts, books, what are the shows that you're watching? Because that usually gives you a good idea of who someone is, because you are what you consume. I've seen some applications where I was like, wow, she sounds great, and got in touch with them, and I've got some virtual dates scheduled, so it seems to be working well.
Leon is a handsome guy with a good sense of humor. If you're interested, check out his website at dateleon.com.
That's so fun that he did that. I've actually wanted to do a beach banner of like Dre is single at Dre Day at Instagram. For inquiries, DM me. Like, the apps are a volume game. It's how many people you can talk to. Eventually, you're going to have chemistry with some. And I guess the traffic, getting yourself in front of a bunch of people, that makes a ton of sense to me. But he's got so many boxes to check that I feel like there's only one place he can go to meet his future soulmate. It's so obvious to me. The gym. Like, save yourself some money and like a babysitter or like dog walking flyer with your number on it. Just like post it up at a bunch of gyms. I know it's COVID and the gyms have been closed, but it seems like he just needs like a bodybuilder.
First, gyms are opening back up, so this could be a good alternative plan. 2, talk about traffic. I don't see any better way to crowdsource a bunch of potential suitors than having a billboard over I-35. It's a creative alternative for a guy who's clearly entrepreneurial to take a new approach to finding dates. But as you said, it's a volume game. He's going to be weeding through a lot of options.
I think it's clever. Like, I don't think anyone's looking at that and is like, this is a desperate guy. I think they're like, this is pretty funny. Like, good for this guy. Kudos to you. But he's really looking for someone that participates in his lifestyle. And that is so specific. I mean, maybe casting a wide net is the way to go, but I also don't think you need a $5,000 referral fee. Like, that's insane.
First off, is this the first German we've ever met that doesn't drink? Like, I'm not sure I've heard that before. Second, I just love, like us, I'm sure he's got a promo code. Like, the fact that you can call a number or refer a friend to try to get a $5,000 reward for love.
I know. I'm starting to go through my Rolodex right now. I'm like,
And the fact that he has terms and conditions, like, he's set up a small business here. It is a contest for his heart.
Yeah, let's find him a girl. So, Ben, I want to talk about the Ghost of the Year awards. We're giving away a sweet prize pack for a perfect night home alone for the best ghosting stories this season. A Dating Diaries blanket, meal delivery, and a trophy to show off on social media.
You'll be the envy of all your friends. Just send your story to us at datingdiariespod@gmail.com. That's datingdiariespod@gmail.com. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at datingdiariesqc.
Stay safe out there, guys. This podcast is hosted and executive produced by me, Andrea Gunning. Executive produced by Nancy Glass, Ben Fetterman, and Carrie Hartman. Produced by Julie Clark and Brianna Fars. Edited by Matt Del Vecchio. Thanks to production coordinator Megan Paisley. The show is mixed by Dave Saya. Special thanks to Mybe Music. Some names have been changed to protect privacy.